Welcome everyone. We are going to get started, and our first publication. Yay! I would like to extend spotlight, right? Like the athletes, musicians, or actors. However, I deeply appreciate your commitment. Your commitment to leadership of our team members in both the English and Fine Arts division, but I'm gonna ask you to hold your applause until I finish mentioning their name. From the English division, Professor Amelia Marini. From the English division, Professor Sarah Miller. From the English division, Matt Fleming and Wes Sims. From the Fine Arts division, I have Professor Brittany Mojo here. I don't think Kangol is here. Is he here? No. No. And also our amazing staff team. Is Team Stark here? No. Our amazing division. I want to thank you for your support and encouragement. Your love for English and literature has helped shape the success of our students, and we are grateful for your contribution. Once again, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to our student winners, and thank you all for coming today.
Thank you for attending tonight's reading. As you might have noticed, if you look at the cover of this brand new issue, this is the 30th published issue of Tellus. And as we stand up here feeling so grateful for this event and the many people who make something like this possible, I have got time on my mind. First, I think about all of the hours that you put into writing these compositions, and not writing if that wasn't your medium. We have sculpture, we have drawings, we have paintings in Tellus this year. Then I think about the team of people who spent hours planning and fundraising to amass a budget to bring that work to you in the copies that you hold in your hand. I also think about the hours of design that went into the layout that we brought to a printer, and the hours that our amazing Cuesta staff in offices across campus spent coordinating all the moving parts so that this event could happen today. What you hold in your hand represents a year's worth of work done by so many people working together, because we all believe that art is important and should be shared. And on the note of sharing, we are very excited that in addition to a copy of Tellus and a fabulous Tellus t-shirt that this year's winners will be receiving when they come up to read their work, we have also been able to offer this year a cash prize that is more substantial than any that we have offered in the past. Our honorable mentions today will be receiving a $50 Visa gift card. Our third place winners will be receiving a $75 Visa gift card. Our second place winners will receive a $100 gift card, and our first place winners will receive a $150 gift card. You are now a part of that legacy, and wherever your words and your art take you, please know that you will always have a special place here.
Hi and welcome. We are so excited to listen to some great creative writing today. I had the pleasure of teaching creative writing this semester so that you can continue to write creatively in a group of students who also want to be writers and engage in the creative arts. So sign up so that we can create a community that meets and enjoys the written word. I want to thank a bunch of supporters, so bear with me as I make my way down the list. These were all huge supporters of our work here today and made all of this possible. On campus, we have the Associated Students of Cuesta College, Aubrey Kwan Roderick, our Dean of Instruction for Creative Arts Humanities.
Okay, so this is the first year of Tellus that we have included a visual arts portion. So when Amelia and Wes asked me to be a part of this, I was really excited. It's not often that we have visual publications for students to be published. And it was just really fun to be included in all of this. It was a ton of work, and yeah, it was just really worth it. The publication is beautiful, the student work is beautiful, and you all should enforce that as much as possible, try to encourage that as much as possible. So making art is really hard, and I don't think that we get enough credit for it. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of emotional capacity. So I just want to say I see you and I acknowledge you, and I'm really proud of all of you for all your hard work, and makes me really happy and proud to be a teacher here at Cuesta. So thank you. So without further ado, winners, when your name is announced, please come up to read and collect your prize. Obviously, fine arts folks, you will not be reading anything, but there are works available to see in both the student show and kind of behind by the wine. I think all of our students that made it into the visual arts portion also made it into the student art show. So check it out and give them a nice round. And they will get a first prize award. Yeah. Thank you.
70. So Sarah, please come on up.
A few years ago, in the breaking daylight hours of a rainy winter morning, I stopped my vehicle. This was followed promptly by my 60-mile-per-hour K-turn, accompanied by a repeating mental dialogue, still alive, still alive, still alive. Returning to my driveway 10 minutes later, lightheaded with adrenaline, I kissed the ground. Hours later, the news came out that a mega landslide had destroyed the highway, and crews were going to have to use dynamite to blast the dirt and rocks so that they could clear the highway. I was there at the beginning, and I could have been under all of it. It took me a while to believe that I was actually still alive. I spent that week in a cognitive haze, unsure of how or why that boulder did not kill me. I would have been squished like a little tiny nothing underneath all of that if I hadn't paused to consider whether or not to drive over the pebbles. This could have been a story written by someone else about a woman who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now it's a story of chance, or maybe just of pure luck. Fast forward to now, and the road conditions remain unpredictable, as they likely always will be for this untamed highway built on and up against constantly moving earth. It used to take me about 30 minutes to get to a spot 20 miles up the coast, but these days there are a few major landslides between here and there. To get to that same spot, it now takes about 6 hours of travel time, which consists of driving south, then east, then north, then west, and then south again. What used to be a scenic route accompanied by sweeping views of the Pacific Ocean and dotted with redwood, willow, oak, and bay trees is now a route consisting of traffic lights, fast food, gas station bathrooms with foam soap dispensers, and 18-wheelers spraying mist onto my windshield from their mud flaps. When I stop to get fuel, I see couples walking on seemingly never-ending mazes of asphalt and concrete with their immaculate shoes, the soles of which lack tread and are not designed for handling actual dirt. I see stray dogs with matted fur running full speed on the sidewalks, knowing where to squeeze between the holes in fences. I see hooded people with lost eyes, occasionally lit up by streetlights weaving in and out of the shadows on bicycles. I see movement everywhere. It borders on scrambling. On the interstate, a car's headlights suddenly appear in my rearview mirror, so close to my bumper that I brace myself. Luckily, the car comes and goes, racing 90 miles per hour past my SUV as if it's just an obstacle in some video game with no real person inside. Although I don't kiss the ground when I finally pull into my driveway, I sure am glad to be back. I wonder how long that can all last out there. Out there, filled with exponentially growing numbers of human beings and exponentially decreasing amounts of nature. Thank you all so much. It's
great opportunity. Thank you.
Our next reader received an honorable mention for fiction. Please welcome Jonah Jenkins reading The Darkness.
Hello, everybody. Thank you again to all the faculty and staff and parents who helped put this thing together. Starting on page 56. Skinner presses the gun against his forehead harder. What makes you think you're going to get out of this that easy? The assassin lowers his voice. I know what I've done better than anyone. You asked me how I could call on God before. Well, your wife is the reason. She grew up in these streets before she made her millions, tough as nails, and only worried about the money. I spent months locked up in my flat, watching her public appearances. Everything about her was different after she met you, after she met him. I'm not running off to some half-rate paradise. I'm running into hiding. Maybe I should take a page from your book. I can't pray enough. I know that, but I might as well try. Then he closes his eyes and begins to mumble under his breath. Former Reverend Eric Fulridge, Skinner, stares deeply at the man's closed eyes. It's impossible to know if he's telling the truth. No amount of money can buy him that enhancement. Instead, something else whispers in agreement with the man's words. He feels the heart beating in his chest for the first time since he can remember. At that moment, he notices the cross that hangs from the assassin's neck. It reminds me of the one he tore from his own neck the day that she died. Skinner slowly pulls the gun away and throws it off the building's edge. Without a word, he rises, paces a few steps to the flung-away rifle, and smashes it in two with his foot. Hey, hey, hey! What the hell? The assassin strains to lift himself, but a look from Skinner stops him. Then Skinner's eyes fall like the closing of a curtain. No more, he says softly. What? No more killing. No more death. What are you, stupid? It's a life for a life, always. You think my escape plan is going to work if he's still breathing? You're still breathing. Count that as a blessing. The assassin covers his eyes and whimpers. You monster. You'd save yourself the guilt by leaving me to die here? Then his tone changes. The tracker. They've got me pinned, always. Probably got someone watching us right now. I've been blocking the signal since I saw you, and that electric pulse would have fried anything external. If you're right and someone was watching, I'm sure they'd have pulled the trigger by now. You said before that it was life for a life. Well, you've taken mine and I've just given you yours. Do I really need to say it? I forgive you. Skinner turns to walk away, then freezes as he hears the sound of a gun cocking behind him. You think your forgiveness is enough? Asked the assassin coldly. No, but Jesus is. Shoot me if you want to. It's up to you. Skinner waits with bated breath as the rain continues to pour down around them. Memories of his love, his loss, and everything that brought him here flashed before his eyes. Would it really be so wrong to die as penance for his sins? That same voice, louder this time, echoes in his mind. Live. Suddenly the rain stops and leaves them suspended in a pit of stillness and calm. Skinner hears the gun clatter to the floor. Just go, says the assassin. Skinner leaps from the roof to the ground and disappears into the night.
Our next reader is Luke Mellum, who won honorable mention for poetry. In the poem, you'll see both Jonah and Luke again. So the first one is My Soul Tells a Story, and you can find it on page 12. Please come up.
Hi. Oh, I have to adjust this. Hi, I'm Luke Mel. So this poem is called My Soul Tells a Story. I remember wearing shoes when I was a kid, till the rubber sole met the bottom of my heel. That's when I got new shoes. from one pair to the next, burning that plastic till it broke, the rubber bottom flipping off to the side till my socks got torn and feet painted in blood. I don't have shoes like that anymore. I have too many to choose from now. Those old shoes told long stories. I can't make my shoes have stories anymore, except my work boots, whose chunky soles are loosening and flattening my heels every time I go into my 8-hour shift, kicking at the shutter doors and crushing grocery boxes. They run like no other, for they hurt me, blisters and all, yet they protect me with the steel toe tip to fend off drunkards when I go out drinking. All it takes is one shot below the belt. How badass. I love them. I love the shape of them. I love the feel of them. I love the extra inch that they give me. I love them because they tell a story. Thank you.
Okay, so I have the privilege of announcing the third place in fine arts for Atticus and Their Hands, Diptych by Casey Velt, which can be seen inside in the gallery. What?
And on page 60.
Oh yeah, sorry, and on page 60.
Our next reader is Ava Minter, who won honorable mention in fiction for the story Cigarettes. You can find it on page 58. Come on up, Ava.
Hello, everybody. So this story is called Cigarettes. It's in New York City, based in 1926. Cigarettes. They were the only constant in Natalia's childhood home. The suffocating smell and choking smoke that permeated the air was something she knew better than most anything. She thought of them now as she walked alone along the bustling streets of New York City. She inhaled the different scents in the air, the clashing aromas of different restaurants as they competed for attention, the accosting smell of car exhaust, the different scents of people, and of course, the ever-present odor of cigarette smoke in the air. There was a haze in the city, an electric buzz of energy that was always vibrating, day and night. It was intoxicating. On the surface, the activity of the city seemed pleasant, almost cheery. Families ate and chatted, friends smoked and laughed. For Natalia, though, the cloying smell was an aching thorn in her side, an incessant reminder of her past. The sharp sting of cigarette smoke intertwined with every unpleasant memory she had. She never smoked, never even considered it, though most everyone she knew did. She was pulled out of her reflective thoughts for a moment as the soft lilt of jazz music drifted into the streets, leaking from the lively joints and businesses that got rowdy on the weekend nights. She smiled softly, remembering the last time she'd heard the music. She danced until her feet were swollen in her heels. Abruptly, a man on a bike came barreling along the sidewalk, going the opposite direction of traffic and making people jump out of the way. The man on the bike rang his bell loudly and hollered at the people to make way. She dove to the side just in time. The bike and the man rattled on, and she could hear it for a while before finally fading into the rest of the city bustle. Down the road, there was a commotion, honking and yelling, nothing out of the ordinary except that, again, she heard the bell from the bike. She decided to walk toward it and see what all the fuss was about. The man was off his bike, having discarded it clumsily on the sidewalk, and was now running up to an apartment door. She watched as he rang the doorbell, and a pretty young woman answered. That was when she noticed the bouquet of flowers in his hand. The young woman smiled broadly and blushed, taking the flowers from the man and kissing him on the cheek. Then the man pulled out a couple of other items from his pocket. Natalia craned her neck to see what they were. In his hand was a box of chocolates and a pack of cigarettes. There, she thought, here's one memory that she could pleasantly associate with the smell of cigarette smoke.
next reader received first place in poetry. Please welcome Paige Ernest reading Copycat, which can be found on page 6.
Hi. Okay. So, you dug through me like the blackened dumpster behind some takeout place, rooting around for the gleam of something valuable. It hurt much less, your rejections of me, my sharp, my used, my worthless. No, where I really felt the sting was in the hollow spaces of what you stole from me, and how you'd turn after and call me junk. Your mockery never left me flattered. More often, I was flattened. Snow scraped aside, a nuisance, but oh, how pretty as it falls. I, picked and sorted through, chilled by my own emptiness, and you, wearing my coat, asking how someone could be so cold.
Next, we have our second place in creative nonfiction, The Peacemaker by Rhodey Bragg on page 66.
Thank you for having me. So this is the abridged version. When I was 5 years old, I told her that I was sorry about her friend dying, and she said to me, "When I die, don't be sad. I'll be happy to go. I won't have to go to work anymore." "No, Grandma, I will be sad," I told her, and I was. It is cliche to say a part of me died with her. A few short months before she passed away, I moved to the Pacific Northwest. I lived in both Oregon and Washington over a course of 7 years. A debilitating depression forced me to reconcile my traumatic past here in San Luis Obispo County. I was born in Templeton and raised in Paso Robles. As a young adult, I struggled with homelessness and even experienced a police assault, where I still bear the scar as a reminder. Moving back home has given me a fresh perspective on who I am and who I come from. Before the drug addiction and domestic violence of my parents, or the alcoholism of my great-grandparents, my second and third great-grandparents were Chumash and Salinan Indians. The indigenous people of these lands, my great-grandmother, Maria, was born in a village site in Cayucas in 1886, before Cayucas was even a town. Cayucas was named after the Chumash Tamal, or what English speakers like to call canoes or kayaks. My people were seafaring people, brave and one with the sea. The word Chumash means seashell people. Her grandmother was from a village site in Cambria, and as if by magic or destiny, I relocated my facial spa business to Cambria when I moved back to the area 8 months ago. Since moving back to California, my ancestors have been talking to me. Another reason why I've questioned if schizophrenia may run in my family, which I understand is no joking matter, as I've had several friends and lovers with the disease, and have also had 2 of them hold me by knife point. Albeit, I was able to talk my way out of those knife fights. Before I moved back to California, I only ever knew of the stories of my great-grandfather Leo. He was Chumash and grew up at the San Antonio Mission. Miraculously, my sister was able to send me his birth, death, and military records. He was born in 1922 and fought in World War II as a rifleman. He became an alcoholic. He was baptized in 1946 at St. Rose in Paso Robles. My mother has told me stories of him, of how he was a big man. When she was little, she says that she would ask, "What am I?" He would say, "You're American." "But I'm not blonde and blue-eyed like other Americans. I can't be American. I must be something else," she would respond. "Don't tell anyone you're Indian. You are American." By the time I came around in elementary school, we were learning about tule huts the Chumash made and did our 4th grade California mission project, in which I still have a photo of me with mine painted with red nail polish and me wearing my pink leather jacket. Other kids would think it was so cool I was Chumash. As I grew older, I had people say things like, "I was a Chumash or a Native American in a past life," or "I talked to your ancestors all the time." My mother is the one to thank who first tried to unearth our ancestors' stories. when she started collecting feathers and abalone shells and took our family to our first powwow in San Ynez. Our ancestors were slaves. They were taken from the San Ynez Mountains and brought to the missions. She told me over the phone when I mentioned to her and my sister that I was working on our tribal enrollment status. Although I still wait to hear back from various bands of the Chumash Nation about our status, I've continued to research my family's genealogy. As of yesterday, I found out from a retired anthropologist and genealogist who has been studying California Indian families for half a century, John Johnson, that I am both Salinan and Chumash Indian, which makes sense as the tribe shared these territories. One of my earliest memories is of a Salinan and Chumash burial site, right in Paso Robles, next to the Salinas River, where the Walmart has been since 1994. My grandmother drove me there as it was being built and told me, "This is how much people hate us for being Indian." Thank you for having me. A ho to all my relations.
Okay, so this is the second prize in fine arts, which goes out to Renee Lopez, who is not here, for her piece, I Am the Eviscerated and the Eviscerator 2, which can be found on page 25, and also in the art gallery.
Next, we have, sorry, I'm tall. Next, we have Tedman Fleming, who won second place in fiction with the story When September Ends. You can find the piece on page 26.
I just want to give a quick thank you to Dr. Miller and my classmates in English 231 because I wouldn't be up here reading without you guys, so thank you so much. And I also want to thank my very good friends, my chosen family, and my partner for coming out here tonight to support me. And thank you to all the student winners and supporters that are out here tonight. We appreciate it. I begged Dev to go with me to the library that day, though he was hardly difficult to convince. I needed a book for one of my classes, which I put off buying to save some extra money, and I figured it'd be a good time to get some studying done. Dev and I were both starting our second year at community college, and with the semester's coursework getting more intense, it seemed as good a time as any to turn a trip to the library into a study date. I think the promise of coffee on the way had made the suggestion more enticing, at least for Dev. "It's so bitter today," I said to him, grimacing at the latte that supposedly had maple pecan sweetener in it. "You can have my chai if that sounds better," he had replied, gently pushing his cup into my hands. "Here, try it." The rich warmth of cream and cardamom relieved my taste buds of the sharp acidity that came before it. I wanted to trade with him, but a pang of guilt forced the sweet drink back into his gloved fingers. We entered the library through the revolving door on the side, which would take us straight to the circulation desk. "I'll find us a table," Dev whispered, pecking me on the cheek. "Meet me in the study area when you get your book?" I nodded, reaching down to kiss his hand before we let go. I wish I had known it would be the last time. After a short back and forth with the person at the desk, I retrieved my book and walked up the stairs to the second floor study area. It was a spacious room, with couches and comfortable chairs arranged about tables of varying shapes and sizes. There were bathrooms along the back wall and an emergency exit to the right that led to a secluded stairwell on the side of the building. I found the table with Dev's belongings, a dark green backpack and black zip-up jacket, and got settled in a chair next to the one I assumed he would sit in. I figured he was in the bathroom. The library wasn't exactly a place notorious for petty theft. I got through the first 20 or so pages of my book before I started to wonder where he was. I checked my phone. No notifications. I opened a message to him and sent it. "Where'd you go?" 20 minutes passed, then 30. By 45, I was restless. I went to the bathroom and knocked on the door. Vacant. "Dev?" I called out, anxious for a reply. Nothing. I rushed out and approached the first person I saw, a girl sitting a few chairs down from where our stuff was. She was wearing headphones, but took them off when she saw me. "Sorry to bother you. I was just wondering if you happened to see my partner anywhere. He's about my height, dark hair. He had a black hoodie on when we came in. I think she could hear the rising panic in my voice as I spoke, because she looked apologetic before the words even left her mouth. "I'm sorry," she said, shaking her head. "I've hardly looked up from my laptop since I got here. Maybe ask someone downstairs if they've seen him. If he left, he probably passed the circulation desk." That was just it, though, I thought. If he had left that way, I would have passed him on the stairs, right? "Thank you," I tell her anyway, and rush toward the stairs and down to the first floor. "You're back in a hurry," the person at the circulation desk chuckled. I get a glance at his name tag, Stan. "Hi again," I say, exhaling quickly. "Do you remember the guy I came in here with? About my height, dark hair? Have you seen him pass through at all?" His grin fades. "I'm sorry, son." He shakes his head. "I haven't seen him since you came in together. Have you tried calling him?" I think of my phone and look to see if he's responded to the text I sent earlier. Nothing. I shake my head. "No, I sent him a text, but I haven't heard back yet. He left all of his stuff upstairs, and it's been almost an hour. It's not like him to just disappear like that." "Well, if you'd like us to call someone for you, I'll be here," Stan said, trying his best to be reassuring. "Don't worry, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding and he'll turn up any minute." "Thanks," I said, forcing a smile. "I hope so." I tried not to panic as I walked back upstairs. Where would he have gone? Why wasn't he answering his phone? Am I overreacting? My thoughts were racing, and when I saw his backpack and jacket sitting at our table when I returned, I had a sinking feeling that something was really, truly wrong. Thank you so much.
Hello. Our next reader won an honorable mention in creative nonfiction. Please welcome Mia Becerra reading My Four Walls Surrounding on page 72. Except we don't know if Mia is here. Mia, are you? Okay. In that case, we will be moving on. Please welcome Emma Kahan, one of our fine artists. This is an honorable mention winning piece, Almost Perfect, which you can see on page 37.
Okay, and this is for third place in poetry. We have Dear Sophie by Hannah Emick. I'm sorry. That's right. Yes, okay. Which can be found on page 10.
Thank you, everyone, for this amazing opportunity. Dear Sophie, am I already gone? You? What if he wins? What if he does? Can I still slice off my bruises? What if I can't? Sophie, am I still sweet? Were you ever sweet? Do I taste fresh? Do I taste bitter? Do you? Do I? I miss you. Do you? Golden. Sophie, am I still green? Were you ever green? Do I still have any fight left? Did you ever have fight? Do I still sing? Yes. I'm sorry for what happened to you. I'm trying to fix it. Trying. It shatters me. Like you. Sophie, are you safe? Do you hear the bees? Do you see that you're beautiful? I remember you. You young, fragile, little flower. Sophie?
We are going to hear next our third place in fiction, which is Hope on the Horizon by Jonah Jenkins. It can be found on page 39. Jonah, come on back up.
If she noticed him, it didn't stop her pacing and looking up sometimes down. Looking sometimes up, sometimes down. Another passing wind sent the boy's spine shivering again, and he pulled his jacket tighter around him. "Aren't you cold?" he asked. She was wearing a light blue dress, which went down to her knees but left her arms bare. "Only when it gets brought up." She finally met his eyes, and the heat behind his ears bit the cold back. Nervousness and slick palms made his voice jump out of his throat. "Why are you barefoot?" She ended her circular route right in front of him. "It lets me feel more connected with nature." Unsure if it was an invitation or an order, the boy untied his shoes and peeled the socks off his feet. The grass was cool, almost damp, and once again the cold air slipped between the cracks of his flawed armor. He naturally scrunched up his toes and felt the blades tickling him slightly. "So, what do you think?" He was sure the face he was making wasn't a flattering one. "Great. You'll never enjoy it like that, you know. Come on, walk with me." She took up her same track, a small circle in the middle of the yard, and he followed close behind. Walking made him spread out his feet, and he found the grass bent beneath his weight oddly satisfying. "Have you ever paced around like this before?" she asked. He remembered the many times his father paced back and forth when shouting at his mother. One night, after a particular argument, he repeated the scene in his room. When his father came in and saw him, he sent him to bed without dinner. Nope, never. They passed the street lamps 2 times in silence. "Why did you come here tonight?" He recalled how desperately he'd been searching for her in the crowd earlier. The echoes of the music that pulsated out of the wooden walls suddenly made his stomach turn. "To have fun?" Another 2 times around. "Did you have fun?" "Yes. No. I don't know." He let them go around again before asking, "How about you?" "Why'd you come? Just to walk around in circles outside?" She stopped and he almost ran into her. She turned. Her eyes only came up to his nose, but they were suddenly fierce. "Do you really want to know?" she asked. He nodded. She looked back at the grass. "To get away, I guess." The words, "from what?" hovered on his lips, but he knew better than to ask him. He almost reached out an arm toward her when the ringing of a phone froze him in place. She pulled her phone from a pocket in her dress. "It's my mom," she said. Then with a sigh, "I'd better get home." "Yeah, me too, probably." She walked over to where her shoes sat primly beside the house. Before she turned to leave, she strode back to where I was standing, with his hands firmly in his jacket pockets. She grabbed them and pulled them out, so they dangled by his side. "Watch me," she said. "For when the place you're in feels awful and you don't know how to leave." She took her slender arms and placed them on her stomach, then closed her eyes and took in a deep breath. As she did, she raised her arms in an arc into the air. He watched her loose bracelet fall down her arm and catch where it was thickest. Then as she exhaled, she folded her hands behind her head and took up that big, bright smile once more. Then she popped her eyes open and stared at him. "You too?" Yeah. He did his best to match her and lifted his arms up. Then he let it all out and placed his hands behind his head. He could feel his shoulders sinking as he did so. "It's gonna be all right," she said.
Okay, so I have the honor of announcing the honorable mention in fine arts for Mortality is a Question by Sophia Lamore that can be found on page 52.
Next, we have our first place finisher in creative nonfiction. It's titled Dearly Departed by Keone Rock Fisher. You can find this piece on page 64.
Hello. I'll try to read this without crying, but no luck so far. I'm standing in the hot southern heat directly under the sun, not of my own volition, but because I gave my word. I took an oath and signed a contract that keeps me paralyzed, planted in the grass and heat like my concrete peers around me. Although they do not sweat, I can imagine they are equally unhappy to be here. While they are free of the oath and contract that keeps me stuck here, they stay put, unwavering and immobile, just like me. I can feel the sweat gathering in my headband, compressed so tightly against my skull that the waves of a newly formed cranial ocean are churning with the pounding of my temporal artery. From the corner of my eye, I watch as a spider knits its delicate web from the brim of my hat to the front of my sight post of my rifle. Unaware of his forthcoming eviction, I'm reminded of my boss's earlier words as we rehearsed for the somber occasion. Head and eyes straight forward, let the bugs eat. The pounding of drums and horseshoes in succession with a sad 1800s tune approaches as the rest of the procession finds us nestled in the cemetery. As we wait for the family members to settle into position, I take small glimpses of each and every one, as if knowing them visually ahead of time will somehow give me the strength to address them on behalf of the U.S. Army. By now, the living quarters of the spider are fully constructed, and the sweat pool pressed against my temples is at capacity. While I hate to disturb him, the funeral has begun, and my rifle swings up to render a salute, destroying his web in the process. While the chaplain delivers his speech and greets the family, the casket appears and is slowly marched over to its final resting place, to become another member of the concrete garden. As it is lowered into the ground, a wave of sorrow in the form of weeping and muffled voices creeps over the grass and reaches our firing party. Although this is just one funeral in the thousands I will participate in, anxiety still takes a firm grip on my stomach. The 3 shots divided between 7 of us are expected to all be delivered at the same time, and unbeknownst to the family, we are all being watched and graded on even the smallest detail. My uniform has been neatly sewn and ironed, metals measured down to the millimeter, in a frustrated night, spent wrestling with the coarse blend of wool I'll be wearing all summer. From where we stand, we can hear the speech come to an end and the chaplain gestures over to our spot in the grass. I take a deep breath, slowly, so I don't give the impression of stray movement. Our firing party captain orders us to attention, and I hear his calm, reassuring voice begin conducting us through our volley of 3 shots. In just a few minutes, our years of practice shine through, and all of our shots go off in perfect tandem. My ears give off a nice dull ring as I reminisce of the earplugs I was ordered not to wear that sit in my locker unused. Our job as a squad has gone off without a hitch, and I return my rifle to a salute, alone, as the rest of my team is marched off to get ready for the next funeral. I search through the grass for our spent shell casings and neatly package all 21 of them into a government-issued black bag and prepare to hand them over to the family. The small glimpses of the family I took earlier slowly become people as my heart rate and anxiety reach another all-time high. I take my calculated steps over to a grieving wife while they all look on, waiting to hear my words. On behalf of the U.S. Army, thank you for your family sacrifice, I say as I met with a sea of out-of-place camera flashes and an almost silent thank you. I give my last salute, slightly longer than the others, and place that small black bag in her hands. The silence of everyone watching is deafening, and the stares in my back are almost palpable as I march away to meet my squad. What should have been a brief interaction done in minutes felt like an eternity. Holding that salute while I watch countless people stare at me with mournful tears could have been years. As I march, I can't help but think, who was this person to them? What brought them here? Was this another suicide, drunk driving incident? Can I even care? I have 6 other funerals to prepare for, and that's just today. Is it worth the emotional energy to even find out why I'm here 6 more times? I greet my squad as we form a line and match each other's steps. Onward to the next one. We march through the garden in silence, the shots of countless other funerals ringing out in the distance. Visiting families of past funerals look on in remembrance as we pass by, and I wonder if they've received one of my black bags years or even days ago. We find our spot across the cemetery in a new field that bears an uncanny resemblance to our prior funeral and wait, loading new rounds into our rifles as I put another black bag in my pocket. I scan the grass for spiders in hopes that they avoid this stretch of grass and quickly readjust my cap to prepare for the upcoming humidity. The clodding of hoofs approach as another horsebound carriage and new family appears, music and casket in tow. I scan the crowd once more as a new chaplain recites his specific religion's rendition of final services. Our gunshots ring out, and again I find myself alone, watching as my team leaves without me to a new wave of anxiety. On behalf of the U.S. Army, thank you for your family's sacrifice.
Okay, so for second prize in poetry, 5 Minutos by Luke Mellum, and that could be found on page 8.
Hi, I'm Luke Mellum. This is 5 Minutos. All it takes is 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get out of bed, brush your teeth, put on yesterday's clothes, run downstairs to your dog, mix up an over-sugared coffee, and scramble your eggs. All it takes is 5 minutes. 5 minutes to walk to class late, drive to work all in messy hair, catch up with a friend in their life, write out a feeling no one could understand, crack a bottle, then forget about it, and end the day that felt the same. All it takes is 5 minutes. 5 minutes to lock sights of eyes, stir in a seat of butterflies, struggle with lipless words for 2 souls scared of their desires, watch them go out the door, and give up on what could have been. All it took was 5 minutes. 5 minutes to stare in awe at that voice. 5 minutes to leave me surreal. 5 minutes to embrace those notes all in air. 5 minutes to fall in love with that stranger. And 5 minutes to leave that concert in infectious bliss. All it took was 5 minutes. 5 minutes for me to leave that show so happy, starting my car, turning on the ignition, putting on the band's music, smiling all the way out the parking lot, then turning a left in blind joy, then get hit by a car, and you're left in smoke and blowing up bags and screaming so fast it's silent. And the concert goers are yelling at you angrily to get out of the road. They want to beat the traffic. And you just sit there 5 minutes at a time till 5 minutes turns to police questions, asking you to do things you'd never believe you'd do in your life. 5 minutes of line walking, 5 minutes of keeping balance, 5 minutes of flashlights in my eyes, 5 minutes of asking all the stupid numbers that make up my life, 5 minutes of things I thought were fictional. And 5 minutes to recount it all, just 5 minutes after it happened. All it took was 5 minutes. 5 minutes from close love and 5 minutes from close death. All it took was 5 minutes. Thank you.
Next is our first place in fiction, Don't You Remember by Bradley Pearson. Please find it on page 18.
Hello, everyone. As a little recap, the story begins with Ernest finishing a beautiful sunny day by spending time with his wife and kids and watching their favorite movie together, Up. As the story moves on, it is slowly revealed that his memory is slipping, to the point that it is affecting his daily life with his children and even forgetting things as important as the death of his wife. Ernest made it to his room before flopping down into the bed. After adjusting his sheets, he felt a pain in his chest. It was as if his heart were being squeezed of all its life. Despite the heaviness he felt for being under so much mental stress, he felt no physical presence. He had no one to comfort him. The only thing that could give him comfort now was the blanket that covered him. What am I forgetting? He asked himself. Why don't I remember? Ultimately, he fell asleep, having gotten no closer to his answer. Another day, Ernest woke up in his empty room, looking around before taking a deep breath. He got up and walked out of his room. He closed the door behind him as he went into the kitchen. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed the weather. It was raining. He walked towards his coffee machine, the coffee ready to be brewed. He didn't remember filling it, but he appreciated it nonetheless. He turned on the coffee machine. He walked over to the couch. There was a crumpled up note on the couch. It had some burn marks and coffee stains on it. He picked up the note, opening it. He read the note. Dad, I'm sorry that I'm having to write this letter to you, but we can't stay here anymore. I can't describe how much pain I have to go through watching her decline, knowing that there's nothing I can do to stop it. We lost Mom so suddenly. Now we're slowly losing you, and it fills me with dread. I want to help, but after searching for so long, I had to step back. As a big brother, I had the choice to take care of Hazel and Oliver first and foremost. I have been supporting them all I can, but they need more than just me to rely on. They still have a full life ahead of them, one that I'm afraid that you won't remember. We will visit as much as we can, but it's too hard to live under the same roof as you. Even if you don't remember me, I'll still remember you, Dad. I'll remember all the good times we used to have. When we see each other again, I'll do my best to remember, for the both of us. I love you, Dad. Sincerely, Charlie, your oldest son. Ernest read through the note. Who's Charlie? He asked himself. Maybe someone sent this to the wrong house, he continued. He put down the note, going back to his coffee pot. The coffee pot was full. He took out a coffee cup and poured all the coffee in. He went to grab the creamer for the coffee. Not knowing how much to put in, he did a little at a time. After just 3 quick pours, he took another sip. It was the perfect mix, no sugar needed. He took his coffee over to the couch before sitting down. He searched for a movie to watch. He decided to pick his favorite movie, Up. He pressed the play button. The room was silent. The intro started rolling.
Okay, last but certainly not least, we have the first place for fine arts by Ella Kahan, Chrome Skeleton Chair, which is our cover and the back. You can see the back of it too. I thought that was kind of a fun thing. And on page 15 and inside the gallery. So congratulations, Ella.
And our final words of the night will come from Tom Pichel, the English Division Chair and former Tellus editor, and just all-around good guy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tom Pichel. I
as Amelia told you. What a great event, huh? Look at everybody here. How many times in our world do we get to just be spellbound by words and objects of art? It's getting less and less, it seems, so take advantage of these times. I do want to thank, there have been all sorts of thanks so far, but I want to thank the English division, my colleagues, our great students, the power of words, the power of images. These things are things that we take with us and that make us human. So go out and enjoy the evening. It's a beautiful night. Thank you all for coming. Thanks to our dean, Aubrey Kwan Roderick, for supporting us, and for everybody who put effort into this event. But most of all, to our writers and artists, thank you.
You did good, though.